Welcome back to the channel. This is part 7 in the AWS Python Lambda series. In this video, we're going to walk through Docker image caching when we're pushing our Docker image from GitHub to AWS. This is going to drastically decrease the runtime of our GitHub Action, specifically in regards to building and pushing the Docker image. Before we get started, you can help me out a lot by doing a few simple things. Sponsor me on either GitHub Sponsors or on Patreon by clicking this link. Subscribing to me on YouTube, liking this video, and sharing it on platforms you use like Discord or Reddit, starting the GitHub repo, and follow me on GitHub. All these things help me out a lot, and I really appreciate it. Alright, so let's get going. The first thing you want to do, if you haven't already cloned the repo, make sure you have it cloned. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk through the actions file. So after you have the repo cloned, so open up code editor. And the first file we're going to look at is the old YAML file. You notice how we have this AWS Lambda v2.yaml in the GitHub workflows folder. We're going to look at this one in a second. So let's look at the old one. We have our name running on push and pull and workflow dispatch, and we run it manually. Nothing has changed from the previous videos. Ubuntu, AWS credentials, login ECR. Here's our choke point, building the Docker image. Every time we build the Docker image, we're building it from scratch every single time. There is no caching of layers. So every time we have to rebuild it on GitHub, it's building from scratch and it's taking a lot of time. So how can we fix this? Well, if you ever run Docker images on your local machine, you've ever built these images, you'll notice that it does something called caching the layers. So if it's already pre-built a layer, it won't try to rebuild it or already have it done. So that saves you a lot of time. And why can't we just do that with GitHub Actions? Thankfully, we can. So we look at the v2 file, we start walking through it. All things are same up here. We put a few variables up at the top here to make it easier to specify and just reference them in the GitHub workflow file. You scroll down, we're logging in. Login ECR, and here's where the magic happens. We're using this Wohan Docker build cache action instead of doing it manually ourselves. Passing the username, password, the registry, and the image name. We're specifying the image name up at the top, right here. And what we're doing is we're passing in the Docker build args, just like we did before. What this is going to do is going to save the cache layers when you're building the Docker image on GitHub Actions, so you can reuse them later. It's going to save a lot of time, and then just deploy to Lambda like we did before. I'm going to be working on my private repository because that's where I have all my environmental secret variables set. So we're going to go to Actions. You already have this AWS Lambda deploy, and you have Lambda deploy v2 like we just said. One thing that we need to make sure we do is this AWS Lambda deploy, when you click these three dots and click Disable Workflow. Why are we doing this? Because we go back and scroll to the top. We're running this AWS Lambda v2 on push and pull requests automatically. AWS Lambda. We're doing the same thing. So we're doing the same thing on both. That means they're both going to run on the same push and pull requests. That means Lambda function is going to be trying to be updated by two different workflows at the same time. One will have to run first, so one will successfully update the Lambda. The second one will fail every time because it can't update the Lambda function when it's already in a state of updating. That takes around 30 seconds. So what we need to do is we need to disable the old one so we don't cause these race conditions. We have the second one as the only active one. So we go back, we disabled it. That's why we did that. Now we go to v2, and we can just run the workflow. So let's run workflow. Click into it. We go to build, and we can see it working. I'm going to fast forward to when it's done building. Okay, it just finished. So let's walk through what happened. The first big thing is right up here. We're running this Wohan Docker build with cache action. We go down here, build tag and push. So now let's jump over to the AWS management console. We're going to look for ECR. And now we see we have this new repository, AWS Lambda demo ECR stages. What this is doing exactly what we do on our local machine when we build a Docker image. It's caching the stages, the layers, so we don't have to rebuild them every time we rerun it. So we go back to here. You see that took 1 minute and 6 seconds. So you might think, well, this isn't a lot of time being saved, right? The other one took about the same time. And you're correct, it's not saving a lot of time right now because it's a very isolated build and video series, very simplistic. When you're in production, your dependencies are probably going to be either anywhere from 20 to 50 at least. And when you're building all those dependencies, having to reinstall them every time from scratch, that's going to eat up your workflow file. It's going to take anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes to run it every time just for this one step. That's going to weigh you down a lot. So if you instead cache the Docker image layers, this will save you a lot of time. But don't take my word for it. When you're doing a production build with a lot of dependencies, use this workflow file to run your CI and see the drastic time improvements. Alright, that's it for this video series. I hope you learned a lot. If you have any questions, just leave a comment below and I'll respond as quick as I can. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more.